also honored to acknowledge the presence of the family members of Professor N.V. Mathur, who joined us online. Your support and blessings mean a great deal to us on this special occasion. We are delighted to have you all with us today for the sixth Professor N.V. Mathur Memorial Lecture at the Institute of Development Studies, Jaipur. This event is a tribute to the contributions of Professor N. Mathur, a visionary academician whose legacy continues to guide generations and also our institution. To begin this commemorative evening on an auspicious note, I now invite our distinguished guests to kindly come forward for the lighting of the lamp. Professor Ved Prakash, Professor Dev Swarup, Professor Ramesh Kevarola, Professor Vinesh Katuri, Professor Usharam and Professor Prajadaram, and also Mr. Harsh Sethi, governing member, who is graciously joining us for the ceremony. We request you all to kindly proceed to the stage for the lamp lighting. Thank you, everyone.
आप इधर आ जाए सर प्लीज गाड़ी का प्लीज अभी इधर है चेयर्स में आ जाइए आप आइए
Now, as we move Now, as we move forward, I'd like to formally extend a warm welcome to our dignitaries with a small token of appreciation. To begin, I invite our Professor Vinesh Katuria, our director, to kindly present a welcome planter to Professor Dev Swarup, the chair of today's session.
मुझसे सबको दिलवा दे आप तो दिलवाए
Now, I would like to call upon Professor Dev Swarup to welcome our key memorial speaker, Professor Ved Prakash, with a planter.
पता ना ये पर है
Lastly, I request Dr. Motilal Mahamalik to present a welcome planter to Professor Ramesh Arora.
Thank you.
Our director, Professor Vinesh Kathoria, to speak about the enduring contributions of Professor M.V. Mathur to the academic and institutional landscape, and also briefly introduce our keynote speaker for the evening, Professor Ved Prakash.
A very good afternoon to all of you. So on behalf of IDS Jaipur and on behalf of Professor Mathur family, I welcome all the people on the dais, Professor Prakash, former chairman UGC, Professor Dev Swarup, VC Baba Amche Divyang University and former VC University of Rajasthan, who is chairing this session also. Professor Ramesh K. Arora, he is the chairperson of MDA Jaipur, and those who have come to listen to this memorial lecture. My sincere gratitude to the Professor N.V. Mathur family who have joined online and Professor Ramesh Karoda for making this event happen. Because of this event would not have happened. To this audience and academicians and policymakers, Professor Mukut Vihari Mathur need no introduction. His accomplishments and charisma span several decades and continents. He has inspired several generations. Professor Mathur was born on October 10, 1915 at Alwar. His early education was at Jaipur, where he finished his high school. Thereafter, his family shifted to Allahabad because his father got transferred to Allahabad, so the family moved there. Professor Mathur graduated from the University of Allahabad with BCom in 1935 and Masters in Arts Economics, MA in Economics in 1937. He stood first in order of merit in the university. Professor Mathur was affiliated with the University of Rajasthan for 20 years from 1949 to 1968. He served as the head of the Department of Economics and Public Administration, Dean, Faculty of Commerce, Dean, Faculty of Arts, and thereafter Vice Chancellor from 1966 to 1968. He served as the director for 6 years from 1968 to 1974 of UNESCO-sponsored Asian Institute of Education Planning and Administration, New Delhi. He was the director and founder of National Staff College, New Delhi from 1974 to 1980, which was later named as National Institute of Education Planning and Administration, NIEPA. And he was the Director General of NCER, New Delhi from 1974 to 75, and he was appointed senior member of the Fourth Pay Commission, Government of India from 1983 to 1987. He also worked as member of various commissions and committees at international, national and state levels. So I'll name some of them which are very prominent. So member of Plantation Inquiry Commission from 1954 to 56, first Central Wage Board for Textile Industry from 1956 to 58, third Finance Commission from 1960 to 61, study team on Panchayati Raj Finance from 1962 to 1963, Education Commission 1964 to 66, Telangana Surplus Committee 1969 to 70, and also as member of several UGC committees. Professor Mathur was part of a 3-member committees whose members were selected by the UN from the list of top-level, world-level educationists to carry out its initiative under the UNDP during 1978 to 79. The committee was given a task to study educational system of 22 countries around the world and develop key recommendations which were presented in a final report delivered to UNDP headquarters in New York. He was the recipient of numerous awards, including Best Teacher, Parikh Memorial, Rajasthan Ratna, and Rajasthan University's Scroll of Honor for Economics, Public Administration and Education, among others. On 6 September 1987, Professor Mathur was awarded a citation that conferred upon him honorary citizenship by the Governor of Maryland, William Donald Sheffer. So this citation recognized his outstanding contributions in helping to foster, nurture, and strengthen the bond of friendship between the USA and India as an acclaimed administrator. He was also awarded honorary citizenship by Mayor, City of Baltimore, 1987, and Special Citation Award by the Governor, State of Maryland, July 1989. In 1989, he was conferred Padma Bhushan by the Government of India. The award was given by the then President of India, Honorable Shri R. Venkataraman. He authored several books, including Panchayati Raj in Rajasthan, 1966, Economic Survey of Rajasthan, 1967, Fertility Survey of Jaipur, 1968, Planning Panchayati Raj and Democracy, 1969. Now, Sir Mathur is also the founder chairman of IDS Jaipur from 1981 to 1987. He is the country's leading economist and academician, widely recognized for his professional and academic achievements. Now, Professor Mathur is survived by three daughters, Alka ji, Chitra ji, and Poonam ji, and several grandchildren. So we are fortunate that Professor Mathur's family has joined us online. We are also fortunate that several of his students and family members have joined us for this memorial lecture. As a mark of our respect for Professor Mathur's contribution, IDSJ has already organized 5 memorial lectures. The first memorial lecture was given by Professor Prakash on October 10th, 2005 on Indian higher education and national development. The second memorial lecture was given by Dr. Ashwini Seth on December 7, 2007. The third memorial lecture was given by Professor Yogesh Atal on education meeting the challenge of social development. This happened on November 12, 2008. The fourth memorial lecture was given by Professor Y.K. Alag on planning the next phase on March 15, 2010. The oration for the fifth memorial lecture, which happened after a gap of 14 years on March 16, 2024, was given by Shri V. Srinivas, who is the Secretary to Government of India, titled New Paradigms in Governance Hybrid Mode. Today we are organizing the sixth M.V. Memorial M.V. Mathur Memorial Lecture titled Global Trends in Higher Education in the Backdrop of the New Education Policy. This memorial lecture is by another distinguished scholar and stalwart, Professor Prakash, who is a former chairman UGC and former director and first vice chancellor of NIAPA. So, with this introduction about Professor M. Mathur, I welcome you again for this important memorial lecture. Yeah, thank you very much for coming. I'll briefly tell about our chief guest and about Professor Dev Swarup, who is chairing the session. So, Professor Dev Swarup is a distinguished academic leader with a PhD in social sciences. Currently serves as the Vice Chancellor of Baba Amte Divyang University, Jaipur, and holds an additional charge as Vice Chancellor of Vishwakarma Skills University, Jaipur, formerly known as Rajasthan ILD Skills University. His career is marked by exceptional acumen, academic administration, and visionary leadership. His transformative leadership is evident from his tenure as Vice Chancellor of the University of Rajasthan from 2013 to 2014 and founding Vice Chancellor at Bhim Rao Ambedkar Law University, Jaipur. At the University of Rajasthan, he revitalized the institution, implemented strategic reforms, and resolved long-standing litigation. Despite the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, his zeal and academic dynamism led to the establishment of Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar Law University, Jaipur, achieving significant milestones through systematic planning and time-bound actions. During that tenure, his additional charge as VC of Haridev Joshi University of Journalism and Mass Communication adds to his impressive portfolio. Dr. Swarup's administrative finesse is reflected in his over a decade-long tenure as Additional Secretary and Joint Secretary at the UGC New Delhi. His policy contributions extend to committees of national importance, and he has a global presence with representations on international platforms. Moreover, the variety of institutions and universities led by Dr. Dev Swarup further underscores his expertise and adds a unique perspective to his administrative and knowledge domain. Dr. Dev Swarup's legacy as a visionary and transformative leader in higher education is a testament to his competence, conviction, integrity, and visionary insight, making him a true academic leader. So we are very fortunate that Dr. Dev Swarup has kindly agreed to chair this session. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now to move forward, I would like to introduce Professor Ramesh K. Arora here. Professor Ramesh K. Arora is a distinguished academic and public administration expert based in Jaipur, Rajasthan. He holds a PhD from Kansas State University, USA, and has been honored with both Fulbright Fellowship and the Senior Fulbright Fellowship. His extensive career includes serving as a professor of public administration at the University of Rajasthan and at the Harish Chandra Mathur Rajasthan State Institute of Public Administration. Professor Arora has authored and edited over 50 books focusing on governance systems and life skills. His contributions to academia have been recognized by several national and international awards, including the prestigious Dr. Rajendra Prasad Award for Academic Excellence in 2022. He has delivered lectures extensively both in India and abroad, sharing his expertise and insights. In addition to his academic roles, Professor Arora is actively involved in leadership positions. He served as the vice chairperson of Nirvan University, Jaipur, where he contributes to shaping the institution's strategic direction and academic offerings. His commitment to education and leadership development is evident in his various educational institutions and initiatives. He is also inspiring thousands of individuals through YouTube platforms. Professor Arora's dedication to public administration and education continues to inspire and influence the academic community in Jaipur and beyond. So I would like to invite Professor Ramesh Arora to speak and share a few glimpses of Professor Mathur's academic excellence.
Honorable Chairperson of the evening, Dr. Devsuru, Professor Prakash ji, former Chairperson UGC and a great academician, Professor Kathuria, our Director, and Professor S.L. Sharma, all the distinguished guests here, and dear ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great pride for every one of us to remember Professor M.B. Mathur today through a memorial lecture. Yudhishthir asked a question to Bhishma Pitama, what's the age of a man? And Bhishma replied, as long as a man is remembered, he lives on. So we are honoring a person whose memory is still fresh in our mind. Professor M.B. Mathur was the first chairperson of IDS. I was his student for 2 years during my master's program, but my association with him continued till the last days of his life, that is till 2004. And even now, I'm very proudly saying that I'm very close to the family of Professor M.B. Mathur. In fact, I'm part of his family. I've been asked to say a few words about Professor Mathur's academic excellence. I mean, what academic excellence only? An excellent person is one who is extraordinary. He's first rate, first class, tip-top, top-notch, and absolutely, you can say, a person who is unique. And Professor M.B. Mathur was unique. Those were the classical times of education. And our University of Rajasthan was one of the best 10 universities in the country. And he was one of the best teachers of the country. And today I'm just going to highlight a few qualities of that great man. First of all, he was a very balanced person. He was a person who was quite fit, healthy, walking, exercise, yoga every day in the morning. And he had tremendous energy to work. Would you believe it, as Vice Chancellor, he will go home and would look at all the journals of the university and will just give recommendation to various teachers of the university to read the articles, and these will be notified to the teachers. All the new books to be bought by the Rajasthan University Library were first sent to him. And for 2.5 hours to 3 hours, he would look at the latest publications, that is journals and books. And he would read a lot. In the morning also, he would read about 7 to 8 newspapers regularly. Very well informed man. Second point is that he was a person who was up to date, not only in the field of economics, but in social sciences. He knew about physics. He knew about all the disciplines of the university. And he really could get the best of teachers from different parts of the country and institutions. For example, he brought Professor Saraf from Atomic Energy Commission and wanted to have a new program of physics. And this new program of physics was not liked by some of the colleges which were affiliated to the University of Rajasthan. Eventually, they had 2 schemes, Scheme A and Scheme B. You can opt for any. And eventually all the colleges of the university also affiliated, opted for the new scheme of physics. Likewise in English also. So here was a person who is well informed about various disciplines. And he would talk to all the teachers. He will go to the departments of economics, law. Economics was his department. He will go to departments of law, Hindi, English, chemistry, physics, everywhere. And will have interactions with the teachers, know about the latest developments. I mean, he had a mission to be not only a good teacher, but also be good organizer when he was vice chancellor for a little more than 2.5 years. It was an interesting tenure for him because there were a lot of problems also, and he resolved them. The third quality was certainly emotionally, he was a very well, you can say, a person who was sthita pragya. He was regularly reading Gita every morning in the evening, and he had that calmness and equanimity which was so rare among people. He never reacted. He was a stoic philosopher, as a matter of fact, and he had capacity to listen to others, have empathy for others, sympathy for others. And he never looked down upon others as inferior beings in any manner. And he has that patience and tolerance, which was amazing. Ethically, he was a person, I've seen him from close, and you can't imagine a more moral person than him. People like Professor Prakash, whom I know, he valued morality and ethics in UGC. And his whole team, including Professor Dev Swarupji, they tried to be as ethical in UGC. So I'm only telling that there were people in this country, there are people in this country who value this, what you call spiritual intelligence. The moral fiber of these people is extremely strong. Professor Mathur was not very happy when his wife passed away when she was quite young, and he thought that he was guilty of not giving enough time to his family. It was not so. It was not so. Only God wanted Mrs. Mathur to come early to his abode, but he is a family man. He has been always. Then the last years of his life spent with the company of his three daughters. One city after the other he would move. But he was very much friendly to people. He had wonderful good friends. There's a fifth point I'm talking about, sixth rather. We had very good teachers in our department, and he was close to all. There was a big group of people who was quite enlightened. Dr. D.L. Gupta in economics, who was from London University, then he was teaching here. I mean, he brought people from different universities and different institutions, and he was very friendly to them. He brought Raja Chelaiya to our university. He brought Radha Krishna to our university. Yal Alag was his own student. And not only one, but maybe in other departments also, he was instrumental in inviting the best of the people to various departments because he was very close to Dr. Mohan Singh Mehta, the second vice chancellor of the university. And he was a great decision maker. Dr. Mohan Singh Mehta wanted to become PVC, but he said, no, I don't want any position. I'll work for you. I'm working for the university. He was the first teacher of our university, President V. Mathur, first head of the department, and first professor also, and great institution builder that way. Professionally, he was a man who really believed in something novel, something creative, something innovative. He was known as adventurer of ideas. And in administration also, which was certainly his area of excellence, because he was master's in public administration from Harvard University. Look, let me tell you a few of the innovations that he was instrumental in initiating in Rajasthan. SCM, Rajasthan State Institute of Public Administration, that institute you find it, which is called OTS. In the initial committee of 3 people, he was a member. Planning board, state planning board, of which he was a member, started because of him. Ombudsman, that is Lokpal and Lokayuk that you find today in the whole country. The idea emanated from the Administrative Reforms Committee of Rajasthan, of which he was a member. And you find that here was a person who always believed in something creative, something innovative. And not only that he himself was innovative, but he could really instill that spirit of genuine innovativeness, creativity, something which brings about a fresh change in the perspective of total people towards the reality that we are confronted with. What I'm telling you is that he could inspire us to be creative. In the classroom also, when he used to teach, he would be very interactive. And says things which were quite unorthodox. He would not just teach us Pigou and Marshall and Robertson and Hicks. He would not just talk about great economists, but he himself was a person who could really instigate that novelty of ideas among his students. He was a great catalytic agent, leader rather. And I tell you one thing, the innovations that he brought about in the classroom, the general seminar every Thursday, tutorials, games, sports, medals, everything. Our department was among the best in the country. It was a joint department of economics and public administration. But the type of harmony that was existing in our department, there was no conflict among teachers. There was no acrimony among students. There were no protests. It was all harmony, conviviality, congeniality, love, which he tried to not only nurture, but also instill that spirit in ourselves. He was a great man. He was a great teacher. I'm so fondly remembering him and telling you one thing. Still, there is a lot to learn from him. Today, I was reading a few of his articles, and I thought, my God, look, so many years ago, and still his ideas are so fresh. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the wonderful glimpses with us. I now have the honor of inviting Professor Dev Saru to take over from here chair for today's session to deliver the presidential remarks.
प्रेसिडेंशियल रिमार्क्स नहीं, मैं तो सर को इंट्रोड्यूस करूंगा। प्रेसिडेंशियल रिमार्क्स हमेशा बाद में होते हैं। ऑनरेबल प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी।
सर मेमोरियल लेक्चर में पहले होती है।
अच्छा चलिए जी। ऑनरेबल प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी, प्रोफेसर रमेश के अरोड़ा साहब, प्रोफेसर विनीश कथुरिया जी, प्रोफेसर के एल शर्मा साहब, प्रोफेसर एस एल शर्मा जी, प्रोफेसर भागीरथ सिंह जी, प्रोफेसर विद्या पाटनी जी, and all distinguished guests present here. It's a great occasion. I'm really honored, and I want to thank Professor Vinesh Kathuria ji for inviting me to chair this very special memorial lecture in the memory of Professor M.V. Mathur Sahab. As Professor Ramesh Arora Sahab mentioned about some of the qualities of Mathur Sahab, and in fact, a great association that he served the University of Rajasthan, where almost we all worked in the University of Rajasthan. So it's a very special occasion for me to be a part of this particular occasion. So at this occasion, मैं माथुर साहब के लिए एक शेर पढ़ना चाहता हूँ। इजाजत है सर? आपकी इजाजत चाहिए मुझे जी। और शेर है कि कारवां के साथ कुछ इस तरह चल ए मीर, कारवां के साथ कुछ इस तरह चल ए मीर, कि जब तू चल सके तो तेरी दास्तां चले, कि जब तू न चल सके तो तेरी दास्तां चले। माथुर साहब हमारे बीच में आज भी मौजूद हैं। उसकी दास्तां, उनकी दास्तां हम यहाँ उसका जिक्र कर रहे हैं, उनको याद कर रहे हैं, उनको सम्मान दे रहे हैं, और उनकी याद में हमारे इतने डिस्टिंग्विश अकेडमिशियन प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी आज यहाँ पर स्पेशल लेक्चर देने वाले हैं। सो इट्स ए ग्रेट ओकेजन। अब सवाल है कि मैं प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश साहब का ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन दे दूं, क्योंकि बहुत मुश्किल काम है। एक तो ये कि सर के साथ मैंने काम किया, आई एम रियली फॉर्चुनेट, तो बहुत विशेष हमारी बॉन्डिंग भी रही, बहुत नजदीक से सर के साथ काम सीखने का मौका मिला। बट फॉर्मली आई वुड लाइक टू इंट्रोड्यूस प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी। प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी डीलिट, PhD, MSc, M.Ed, US Fulbright, and having more than 50 years of experience, policy making, teaching, research, and academic administration in various fields. So this is the brief. And then, as we all know, he is former Chairman, University Grants Commission. He is former Vice Chairman, University Grants Commission. He is former Secretary, University Grants Commission. The only one person who served in all three capacities. So, then Vice Chancellor, it was NIPA, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, which became NIPA, National University of Educational Planning and Administration. And I was really fortunate कि यूजीसी की तरफ से और प्रोफेसर वेद जी जो तय करते उन दोनों की कर रहा था. And this is how it became the university. Then chairperson of National Council for Teacher Education, New Delhi, advisor Planning Commission, advisor Education Planning Commission, consultant World Bank, professor and head NCRT, joint director, and then in different capacities at NCRT. And as we all know, he has contributed immensely to policy formulation at all levels. For that, he visited many countries. नाम कुछ ले दूं मैं, USA, UK, रशिया, जर्मनी, फ्रांस, कनाडा, चाइना, ब्राजील, शायद ही कोई कंट्री बचा है. एंड सर के साथ एक दो जगह मैं भी गया. So that was a great learning for me. I have great admiration for sir. And as we all know, several committees as chairman and member of the selection of vice chancellors, then address several means more almost dozens of convocation addresses, many publications. In this it is 178, but I think it's more than that. And then even today, he is recently he was Chancellor of KEET, Kalinga Institute of Information Technology at Bhubaneswar, and now he is Chairman Advisory Committee Board KIT Bhubaneswar, Professor Emeritus Meghalaya University of Science and Technology, Professor of Eminence, Lovely Professional University Punjab, Member Board of Management Jamia Millia Hamdard University, Member Board of Management Sharda University, Member PMM and MTT, member of Ministry of Education, Government of India, member Advisory Committee, National Resource Center of Chemistry. So I think क्या बताऊं कितने ऑनर्स हैं, कितने ऑनर्स हैं सर को. I think it's a great occasion for me to briefly introduce Professor Ved Prakash ji, and it's a great occasion, and I really thank अरोड़ा साहब एंड विनीश कथुरिया साहब दैट कि उन्होंने प्रोफेसर वेद प्रकाश जी को आज के इस बहुत ही बिफिटिंग ओकेजन पर उनको इनवाइट किया, एंड ही इज गोइंग टू डिलीवर अ स्पेशल टॉक इन द मेमोरी ऑफ एमबी माथुर साहब. सो सर वेलकम एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू सर. एक शेर तो सुना दूं आपके लिए पहले शुरू करने से पहले. एक सर के लिए भी एक शेर मैंने लिखा है इसमें अभी, और ये कथुरिया साहब और अरोड़ा साहब की तरफ से कहता हूं कि हम उनको छीन कर लाए हैं कितने दावेदारों से. सर कल भी कालीकट में थे, कंटिन्यूटी में बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम्स हैं, कि हम उनको छीन कर लाए हैं कितने दावेदारों से, शफक से, चांदनी रातों से, फूलों से, सितारों से. तालियां बजाइए.
The chairperson of this event, मेरे बहुत अजीज colleague Professor Dr. Dev Swarup ji, Vice Chancellor of Baba Amte Divyang University, Jaipur, the Director of this institute, Professor Vinesh Kathuria ji, Honorable Professor Ramesh K. Arora ji, my senior fellow colleagues, Professor K.L. Sharma ji, Professor Bhagirath Singh ji, Professor Pemaram ji, and other distinguished members of this gathering. It's indeed a matter of great honor and a very special privilege for me
to deliver the 6th M.V. Mathur Memorial Lecture here in this IDS Jaipur. It is with a sense of great respect and admiration that all of us have today gathered not only to pay our homage to Professor M.V. Mathur, but to celebrate his life. I would like to compliment and congratulate the beloved daughters of Professor M.B. Mathur, who thought it fit to create an endowment to organize a memorial lecture in the sweet memory of their beloved father. For them, it may be a small, but it is going to benefit the coming generations for years together. This is how the significant contributions are made by the good minds, who were born in the family of Professor M.V. Mathur. And I would like to congratulate them, though they are not with us. Professor Mathur was not an ordinary person, actually. Vinesh has talked about his contribution. Professor Arora has talked about his significant contribution because he had seen him from a very close quarters. I have read him a lot, actually, and I was fortunate enough to head the institution which was established and nurtured by Professor M.V. Mathur when it was known as the Asian Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. Later on, it was renamed as National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, and I took over as the director first and then subsequently the vice chancellor. What is so very special about Professor M.V. Mathur is that he belonged to a class which was inspired by the ideals of freedom struggle. And which is why, those people were very different from us. We have even forgotten the ideals of freedom struggle. We are busy with something else, calling names to each other, ignoring the most important aspect of the human endeavors. He was an economist. I would like to say that he was not merely an economist. He gave altogether a different orientation to the planning process of this country. He was with Professor D.S. Kothari as a member of the Education Commission in 1964. And I'm told that both of them at times will sit together in front of the India Gate and deliberate on the issues and concerns which were confronting the school education system in general and higher education system in particular. Look at the leaders, where have they gone? We have such people amongst us today who want to empower the children education. We wanted to change the Asian Institute of Educational Planning and Administration into Commonwealth Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. He was a man of great ideas, actually. And he was not the man who would give up easily, push those ideas to the limits. And as a result of which he was highly respected amongst his fellow colleagues, amongst the political executives, and even in the bureaucracy. He belonged to the class which would walk into the offices of the prime ministers and the president of India and the secretaries of different ministries without an appointment. And the bureaucracy and the political executives would consider it an honor to have interacted with those people at that point in time. I was telling Vinish yesterday and Professor Arora that C.D. Deshmukh ji was the finance minister with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And later on, he became chairman of the University Grants Commission. He was sitting in his office and Pandit Nehru ji came to inaugurate the CAG building, which was the adjoining building. And when he passed through that Dayal Singh Public Library, Pandit ji saw the board of the UGC and he said, "Arey Pandit ji यहाँ बैठे हैं, चलो चाय पीते हैं उनके साथ." And the secretary to the Prime Minister said, "Sir, we have the time. We have given the time to the CAG and people are waiting there. So let us inaugurate that first. You can have the tea later." Pandit Nehru inaugurated the CAG building and then he walked into the office of the chairman of the University Grants Commission. By that time, the news broke and C.D. Deshmukh knew that the Prime Minister would be calling upon him in a short while from now. But C.D. Deshmukh sahab did not go downstairs to receive the Prime Minister. Not that he did not respect the office of the Prime Minister, but that had between themselves. Pandit Nehru walked up to the first floor, walked into his office and said, "Pandit ji, chai pilao." The tea was served to the Prime Minister, and when it was done, Pandit Nehru left the office, and C.D. Deshmukh did not go to see to the ground floor. It was not because of disrespect. It was because they were equals. All of them were driven by the ideals of the freedom struggle at that point in time. And with the kind of economy that we had at that time, we were spending only 0.64% of the GDP on education, but the foundations that were laid down by the visionary leadership in the name of the premier institutions, until this day, we have not come up with an alternate model of educational institutions in this country. They were the people who wanted to transform us into a progressive society because the literacy rate was on 18%. The gross enrollment ratio in higher education in 1950-51 was less than 1%. And they knew what does the progressive society means. A progressive society means where quality learning opportunities are accessible to every child in the age cohort of 3 to 24. A progressive society is the one where every voice is heard, every voice is valued. A progressive society is the one where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. A progressive society is the one where people have empathy with the fellow citizens. A progressive society is the one where respect science, believe in science, and repose their trust and confidence in based policy interventions, not on the whims and fancies of handful of people. And that can be done only through education. So the leaders of that era knew the significance of education, and which is why you would find that education, equality, and social justice were the main subjects of discourse during the freedom struggle movement. But it seems, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, that after independence, these three subjects, education, equality, and social justice, seem to have not received the desirable attention. And as a result of which, we continue to live in a highly stratified society, wherein the chances of individuals' mobility are very, very narrow and restricted. And this is neither good from the economic perspective, nor from the political perspective. And we continue to live in this stratified society because we still believe in hierarchical values and attitudes which are deeply entrenched in our society. Deeply entrenched in our society. This was forewarned by Education Commission in 1966. And in fact, Kothari Commission in its report has expressed that education should be used as a process for social transformation in the context of nation building to forging unity in diversity and for building a shared citizenship based on secular, democratic, and social and egalitarian credentials. The question arises, what have we done in the last 7 decades? I can present 2 different perspectives to you. One which will move you, which will propel you on the moon actually. I would start comparing India of 1947 with India of 2024, but that comparison would be absolutely meaningless. Because India of today is far more resourceful than India of 1948 and 49 and 50 and 51. We have created a gigantic system of education in this country. There's nothing wrong in taking pride in our achievements. We have created more than 19 lakhs schools, which are providing access to education to about 27 crore children in the age cohort of 3 to 18. We have about 89 lakhs teachers engaged in the sector of school education. In higher education, we have around 56,000 higher educational institutions. We are the largest system of higher education in terms of number of institutions. We have 44 million students enrolled in higher educational institutions. The gross enrollment ratio has reached from less than 1% in 1950-51 to 28.5% in 2024. We have more than 1.6 million teachers engaged in the sector of higher education. We have more than 1,168 degree awarding institutions in the names of institutions of national importance, central universities, state universities, institutions deemed to be universities, and around 50,000 colleges offering undergraduate and postgraduate programs. So if you share these figures at the international platform, they're mind-boggling figures actually. And we can take a lot of pride that we have become this and that, which I don't want to name. But the reality remains very different. The societal aspirations at the international level were expressed at 2 times until now in modern period. First time after World War I, when the world leaders had assembled in the city of Geneva in 1924. One of the resolutions I would like to share with you, and I will quote, that the children must be provided the tools for their natural development. Those who are backward must be supported by the nation states. And that the children must be placed in a position wherefrom they can make a decent living. Unquote. Nothing happened. World War II came in 1939. And in 1948, again the world leaders this time assembled in the city of Paris and came up with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I'd like to draw your kind attention to Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. It was a historic moment, actually. There are 3 parts of Article 26. Because of the time constraint, I will like to draw your attention only to part 1, which deals with education. There are 5 assertions in that, and it says, and I quote, the elementary education must be made compulsory. Everyone has the right to education. And elementary education shall be made available free of charge. And professional education and technical education shall be made accessible to all the eligible population. And fourth, which is important for you to remember, is that higher education should also be made accessible to all on the basis of merit. Unquote. If you carry out a dispassionate analysis, and if you are honest in your approach, and if you are not carried away by considerations other than the interest of the nation, then you find that there is a pattern in the developed economies. You look at the profile of the developed economies, they seem to have evolved their education system around those 5 stipulations of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It doesn't mean that they were not good. Even prior to that, they were good, but they focused on that. They have ensured universal school education. They have created outstanding infrastructure for professional and technical education. And when it comes to higher education, their higher education is driven by merit and merit alone, which is why they are ruling. And if we carry out an honest analysis of our own system, what have we done? We have not been able to universalize elementary education in this country thus far, let alone universalization of school education. Every class in our country happens to be a terminal class. Children leave out after grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and so on and so forth. And they don't leave pushed out of the system. The system doesn't support them. They have not been able to provide skilled men to themselves. So we have been talking about demographic dividend for a very long time. And when it comes to higher education, I'm sorry, I have been a part of it. Devsrup has been a part of it, or many of you have been part of that system. But higher education system of our country is nowhere in the reckoning at the international level. Nowhere. We have some premier institutions like Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and IITs, and some ISERs, which we have recently established, but the number is very small actually. When we look at the global rankings, we find that amongst the top 10, 4 from United States of America, 4 from Great Britain, 1 from Switzerland, and 1 from Singapore. We are nowhere. You deep down dive slightly and look into top 100 universities in QS 2025 global ranking. There are reservations about global ranking. I also have reservations, but that is considered a yardstick today at the international level. And in the top 100, what do we find? That 26 again are from United States of America, 14 from Great Britain, 5 each from France, Germany, and China. China in the recent past has done exceedingly well. They have come up with double first-class project, and they have pumped enormous amount of resources, which I will be talking a little later. And you will find that 5 universities from China have figured in the QS global ranking of 2025. The first institution of ours is IIT Bombay, which is ranked 151st. Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore is ranked 211th. Professor K.L. Sharma's university and our university, of course, I mean Jawaharlal Nehru University and University of Hyderabad and Jadavpur and Pune and Northeastern Hill University, which we had identified Devsrup as universities with potential for excellence, they are nowhere. They are way below. When we look at the growth enrollment ratio in higher education, we find that we are 12 percentage point lesser than the world average. The world average is 40%. We are 28%, 8.4%. Yeah. And we find that the expansion that has taken place in higher education is so ad hoc and so arbitrary that you go to places like Birbhum, Kuch Bihar, Bankura in West Bengal, or Morigaon, or Denkanar, or Kalahandi in Odisha, or Shimoga or Bijapur in Karnataka, or Nellore and Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. The number of higher educational institutions per 100,000 population is as low as 4 and 5 and 6. But we also have pockets wherein this is as high as 51 and 37 and 39. Absolutely arbitrary, driven by considerations other than academic. Now we have set a goal for ourselves that we are going to attain 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035 in the national education policy. What does it mean? It means that every second child in the age cohort of 18 to 24 will be on the campus of higher educational institutions. And how can we do that? We can do it only if we do the following. Number one, if we grow at an annual growth rate of 4.2%, only then we can achieve the 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035. We can do it provided we maximize the existing capacity of educational institutions. We have institutions in this country wherein we are sitting only with 400 students, 700 students, and we call ourselves as universities and institutions of national importance. We can do it provided we restore the credibility of the open and distance learning system, which we had introduced in mid-60s, and still we have not been able to bring it at par with the conventional method of teaching and learning. We can do it provided we have a fusion of the offline mode of delivery with online mode of delivery and with the ODL mode of delivery. We can do it provided we provide resources to the provincial governments to set up educational institutions in areas wherein the institutional density per 100,000 population is lesser than the state average. The second important issue that I would like to flag. So the key takeaway for us is that we can achieve it provided we do the following, and it would require money. It would require political commitment. It would require greater focus on education. The second important issue is about equity. Globally, you will find that the participation rates of women at the international level has increased at much faster a pace than the participation rates of boys in higher education. The gross enrollment ratio at the international level has increased from 19% to 43% among women, as against 19% to 37% among men. This is the global trend. In our case also, if you minutely with microscope, if you see, you will find that the gross enrollment ratio of girls is marginally higher. Even in our case, it is 28.6 as against 28.4, according to the latest survey. But then what we find, you look at the participation rates of girls in STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you will find that the participation rates of girls in STEM disciplines is 18 percentage point lesser than boy in our country. And if you look at the participation rates of children coming from the marginalized sections of the society on the campuses of the primary institutions, despite the reservation, you will find that it is absolutely abysmally poorer. even in IITs and ICERs and central universities. And therefore, what does it warrant? It warrants interventions at the school stage. If you are not going to direct the girls of grade 9, 10, 11, and 12 towards basic sciences, exact sciences, and mathematics, if you would not motivate them, if you would not provide appropriate academic interventions, the transition rates of girls and children coming from marginalized sections of society will continue to remain low. This is also a matter of concern at the global, in United States of America, actually. I am associated with one of the universities in California, and the professors there, they are organizing the special orientation programs for the girl students of grade 9, 10, 11, and 12 during the weekend on the campuses of the universities. Have you ever thought of that? Can you name a university wherein professors are coming up with that kind of an idea? How are you going to do that? This is so another important takeaway for us is that if we really care for 50% of the population, and these disparities are more pronounced in the rural areas. And therefore, the takeaway for us is that universities have to come forward and shoulder this responsibility in a meaningful manner to ensure the gender parity in education. The third issue that I would like to flag is about and we have the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Divyang University with us. And I would like to give a message to him. World Health Organization data reveals that there are about 1.3 billion people in this world are having some kind of physical disability. And I was looking into the data of the United States of America, Great Britain, and compared it with our own data. And I found out that 24% children with physical disability of one kind or the other are the bachelor's degree holders in the United States of America. And 22% children with physical disabilities are the bachelor's degree holders in Great Britain. And when I saw our own figure, I found out that only 6% boys and 3% girls with physical disability are the bachelor's degree holder in our country. And we all know that the education of the children with physical disabilities is hampered by multiple factors. It is not only the access, it is the mindset we have, discrimination, prejudices, biases, financial support, the kind of renovation and improvisation that our laboratories would require. And therefore, another takeaway for us is that if we are committed to ensuring inclusive education, creating an inclusive society, I think we need to focus on this aspect. And again, the responsibility lies on the shoulders of the teachers of higher educational institutions. The another issue that I would like to flag is about the skilling gaps. The fourth industrial revolution impelled by artificial intelligence and emerging technologies, robotics, etc., have created a humongous skill gap in the world. In this concern, the leading universities of the developed economies, they are coming up with short-term, tailor-made programs for two sets of students. They have realized that this revolution has created a class of traditional students. Who are the non-traditional students? Those who are the age cohort of 18 to 24. They are already in the world of work, but they find themselves inadequate today because they do not have the kinds of skills which are required by artificial intelligence, wearable technology, virtual reality, virtual augmentation, and cloud computing and all that. And therefore, these people, they want to go back to their alma mater to reskilling themselves and upskilling themselves. Have you thought about the class of non-traditional students? Do we hold discourse about this concern? And therefore, the another takeaway for us is, and in our case, I mean, we have been following the traditional human resource development approach to prepare the skilled workforce in our country for a very long time. I am the son of a farmer, and therefore I will go with my father into the field and start tilling that land. I am the son of a carpenter. I will sit with him and learn the art of creating furniture. I'm not undermining the significance of that. That system has been invoked for a very long time, but that system has a lot of limitations. If I enter into a toy making profession once in my life at a tender age, I'm stuck there because there is no certification, there is no accreditation, and as a result of which I will not be able to transit from one vocation to another vocation. And because Professor M.B. Mathur was a great economist, and there is a person who is known as the father of economics, Adam Smith. Adam Smith in the 18th century had said, and I quote, that the real asset of a nation is not the gold and the silver and other intangible assets. The real asset is the educated and skilled workforce. Unquote. So the another takeaway for us is that if we want to, and we talk about demographic dividend, in the national education policy, we have said some good thought prevailed upon the drafting committee. They said that this demographic dividend is not going to last forever. It has its own life. And therefore, let us do it and give vocational orientation to education. But in our country, the public perception about vocational education is so poor that nobody wants to go in for that. I got an opportunity to interact with the team, the Facebook office. My son works there. And I expressed my desire that I would like to interact with your team. And he took me to his office and he said, for heaven's sake, please don't ask their salaries. Because this is what we Indians do usually. तो शादी हो रखी है क्या, बच्चे कितने हैं, तनख्वाह कितनी है, तो मेरे बाप ये काम मत करना. तो मैंने कहा नहीं करूंगा मैं. 60% of the members of his team were not the bachelor's degree holders. They were having the associate degrees from the community colleges. And they were making decent living. Decent living. And what is going to happen if every second child in age cohort of 18 to 24 is going to be on the campus of higher educational institution? How our economy is going to absorb the pass outs from there if you are not going to give them the skills which are needed by the modern world? So the another takeaway and the threat to us is about giving vocational orientation to education in our country. For a very long time, we did not have even the materials available in the regional languages. We thought that the regular teachers would be able to handle the vocational programs without giving them any specific training. And we are continuing to commit that mistake. We'll have to have standalone institutions for certain trades. We'll have to see what kind of programs could be offered in vocational areas by the conventional institutions. What kind of additional features would be required for which the money would be required. So the teachers, the university professors will have the responsibility of enumerating the list of the vocations which would be required, because we have talked about the National Occupational Standards and Qualification Packs for the purposes of ensuring comparability at the global level. Otherwise, they will remain within the confines of this country only, and they will be available to you for shouting slogans and filling your rallies. If you really want to convert them into productive citizens of this country, you will have to give them the skills so that they can stand on their own feet and they don't have time for these dirty jobs which they are doing today. The another important point that I would like to flag is about teaching and learning. For long, we have been following the traditional mode of teaching and learning, whereas the world has switched over to interdisciplinary teaching and learning. I was inaugurating a conference on the philosophical works of Professor D.P. Chattopadhyay in Goa. And before going to that conference, Devsrup, I thought that I should find out how the subject like philosophy is taught in the leading universities of the world. So I went through the curriculum of Yale, Stanford, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, University of California at Berkeley. And I found out, gentlemen, you will be surprised that they have integrated a discipline like philosophy with artificial intelligence, with biotechnology, with mathematics, whereas we consider that this is a luxury discipline. And we get carried away only by economic considerations, that it is only the engineering and the allied disciplines or the medicine and the allied disciplines which can lift us socially. We forget that they do not make good human beings. We have not learned from our own mistakes. When we created IITs in 1956, the first IIT was created in in Kharagpur. We did not have the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. And then we realized that what are we preparing these engineers for? If they do not understand the fabrics of their society, if they do not understand the economics, what are we going to do with these engineers? This is how the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences were created in the IITs. You can't become a good teacher without understanding the philosophy of the subject that you are teaching, because each domain of knowledge has its own philosophy. Then I was taught photosynthesis, Sharmaji, I was taught photosynthesis as a biological process. I was never ever taught that there is a quantum physics involved in it, there is a chemistry involved in it, there is a geography involved in it, there is an art involved in it, there is a language involved in it. When I was taught chemistry, in chemistry I was taught periodic table as a chart. These are the elements, these are the atomic numbers and atomic weights, and this is the electronic distribution of electrons in different orbitals. That is what I was taught. But when I'm gone almost, I have completed my life almost, and when the doctor tells me that the magnesium and potassium levels are very low, sir, you have to take special care. Do you eat bananas? I said, I don't like banana. He said, you will have to eat banana because you will have to increase. How are we teaching? We are not teaching. The law of learning tells us that learning is the best when the child should learn. Why should he? Do we ever teach? Do we ever spend minutes before we start a new unit in the class? Why should they study Pythagoras and why should they study quadratic equation? And why should they study molecular rearrangement and atomic structure? We do not do that. And therefore, the time has come when we need to switch over to interdisciplinary teaching and learning. There are challenges involved in it, but it is a doable proposition because the new knowledge lies at the intersections of different disciplines. Pick up the list of the last 10 years Nobel laureates and you will find that majority of the are those who have defined the basic boundaries of a discipline. So this is another takeaway for us to switch over to thematic approach of teaching and learning, to switch over to project-based teaching and learning, to switch over to teaching in our institutions if we have to compete at the global level. I move to another aspect. That is, we in the national education policy, we have talked very loudly that we will like to internationalize the higher education. And the policy has gone to the extent that each and every institution will have a special office for the international students. Look at the figures. United States of America continues to be the most sought after destination for international students for centuries. Great Britain, Canada, Australia. And lately, Singapore and South Korea have also emerged as the hub for the international students. Why? What is so special that they have done? Can't we learn from their experiences? And lately, China. China today is hosting, US is hosting more than 1 million international students, no doubt about it. Canada is hosting around 800,000 international students. Great Britain is hosting around 560,000 international students. China today, you can Google, you can find out, is hosting more than 500,000 international students. They have come up with proactive policies to attract the international students. We have not yet realized the value of the internationalization of higher education. If you make me grow society where I am born, can I grow there? Unless I grow in the midst of the diverse culture, unless I try to enter into the faith of my fellow colleague, which I do not practice. And I cannot enter into anybody's culture unless I know my own culture. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hosting only 47,000 international students on our campuses, and they come from the neighboring countries, and they come especially only for the undergraduate programs. Rarely, some of these students would come in the postgraduate and the doctoral programs. So the another takeaway for us is that we need to come up with proactive policies, and we need to learn from the great experiences of the countries which have in the recent past increased the intake capacity of the international students. Another important issue is no nation can progress without educated and skilled workforce. This is not the rocket science. No nation can progress without expanding the frontiers of knowledge, without creating new knowledge. Everybody knows it. But what happens? Look at the global data report. It reveals that United States of America was on the top until 2 years ago. That has been, Sharmaji, outranked by China in terms of volume of research papers and the share of research at the global level. Today, China is publishing more than 1 million research papers annually. And China's share in global research is 19.85%, whereas the share of United States of America is 17.8%. United States of America is publishing 702,000 research papers annually. The share of Great Britain is close to 7.5%. In global research, they are publishing around 250,000 research papers. We are publishing 278,000 research papers annually, and our share in global research is 8.01%. But the lesson that we need to draw from here is that with such investment that we are making in research and development in this country, our teachers have the potential to compete at the global level. And if they are given greater facilities, provided adequate resources, they can substantially increase our share in global research. We are publishing 274,000 research papers annually. United States of America, ladies and gentlemen, spend 6% of their GDP on research and development. 3.64%. And Great Britain is spending 2.89% of their GDP on research and innovation. This is why the first molecule to beat corona was created on the campus of Oxford. Okay? Why all the innovations take place on the campuses of these countries only? Because they are investing enormous amount of resources. We are spending 0.65% of our GDP on research and development. And yet our teachers are contributing more than 275,000. This message must be conveyed to the political executives and bureaucracy loud and clear that we have the potential, we can do it provided we are provided adequate support. This is another important takeaway for us. The another important thing that I would like to highlight, kitna time hai? Sham ka time. This is the problem. This is the only similarity between the teachers and the politicians. Actually, once they get the mic, they don't want to yield. And if the audience is so lovely, so affectionate, and so patient, then you go on and on. But let me try to conclude by making the last observation, which is also very important. In 1966, when the Education Commission's report was submitted to the federal government, one of the recommendations was that we must spend 6% of the GDP on education in a phased manner, and that by 1986, we must be spending 6% of the GDP on education. The real figures are somewhat different, but I will quote the figures of the Ministry of Education. There is a disparity. Okay? And the figures reveal today that we are spending 4.12% of the GDP on education according to the latest report of the Ministry of Education. 4.12%. Now you split it amongst different sectors. In elementary education, we are spending 1.79% of the GDP. In secondary education, we are spending 1.0%. Combine 1.79 and 1.02. Can you provide access to quality education to 29 crore children with these kinds of resources? What are we talking about? Are we honest enough with those little kids who are the future of this country? We are spending, ladies and gentlemen, 0.52% on higher education and 0.77% on technical education. The figure comes out 4.12. If I am wrong, you can correct me. Many of us do not know from this magic figure of 6% in 1966. I had an opportunity to have an interaction with Professor D.S. Kothari, with Professor A.K. Sharma ji. And Professor Kothari said, मैंने पूछा सर ये कहाँ से आई है, इसका कुछ बेसिस नहीं मिलता कहीं पे। उन्होंने कहा बेसिस है। मैंने कहा सर क्या बेसिस है? उन्होंने कहा कि at that time we looked around and we found out that all the developed economies were spending around 6% of their GDP on education. So we used that as a yardstick and came up with this figure. There is a logic in it, isn't it? And today, I mean, if you look at that figure, I tried to collect the data from different countries. United States of America continues to spend 6.3% of their GDP on education. 6.3%. Australia is spending 6.2%. Canada is spending 5.8%. China is spending 4.56% of their GDP on education. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we should also understand the size of the GDP. That also matters. That also matters. And therefore, the message, the another important takeaway is that educational institutions must put pressure on the political executives. They will continue to appoint chancellors and they will continue to appoint the deans and professors. And we will continue to run after them. But we have a duty to towards the children to tell them that we cannot provide access to quality education unless we are financially supported, unless the institutions are made self-reliant. I mean, legally and constitutionally, this Devsrup's University is an autonomous institution, constitutionally and legally. But does he have autonomy? He doesn't have any autonomy at all. He cannot become an autonomous institution unless he becomes a self-reliant. And self-reliant he can become only when he receives support from the society and from the provincial government and from the federal government. Society also doesn't bother. Society में जो लोग थोड़ा ठीक हो गए, उन्होंने बच्चे अमेरिका पढ़ाने शुरू कर दिए. मैं भी उसमें से एक हूं. मैं भी उसमें से एक हूं. Gone are those people actually in whose memory we are organizing this lecture. And I said in my opening remarks that they were the people who were driven by the ideals of freedom struggle when everyone wanted to make India a self-reliant nation state. Issues are very many. It is our duty and responsibility, those who have served in this sector for so long, that we must raise our voice and raise our voice with logic, with evidences. And which is why I said that a progressive society is the one which believes in science, respects science, and repose trust and confidence in evidence-based policy interventions. I would like to repeat that. That is very important. अंधे हो चुके हैं हम लोग. भूसा भर दिया गया है हमारे दिमाग के अंदर. हम नहीं समझते शिक्षा की कितनी शिक्षा के अंदर. The kind of confidence that you get, the kind of empowerment does it provide, regardless of the house where you have been born. You might have been born in a hut, but if you are empowered, if you are given the knowledge, if you are given the knowledge, if you are given the power to contemplate, understand and contemplate, then you can stand on your own feet and talk to the world, in the sense of the word. I would conclude by saying that higher education is undergoing enormous amount of shift. We need leaders who can anticipate the recent trends and come up with new educational offerings which can meet out the demands of the modern society. We have to maximize the use of information and communication technology. People do not know the shape of the world from hence. Had we realized that we would be seeing this scenario? When I entered into the profession, I never ever thought that there would be computers. And that computer के ऊपर भी मशीन होगी और एक मशीन जेब में होगी जो हर वक्त आपको बिजी रखेगी. There are curriculum groups, those who are associated with the teaching and learning. I want to tell them, I had an opportunity to interact with one such group in the United States of America. They are developing the curriculum, Professor K.L. Sharma, for 25 years from hence. And I asked one of the professors that, sir, how are you going to envision that what would be the requirement? They said that we are anticipating the trends. And then we are envisioning that what kind of services would be there and what kind of skills and competencies would be there, and we are developing the curriculum for that. And even if 25% of the curriculum is found valid in 10 years from hence or 25 years from hence, we would be very contented people. That was the reply of the professor. Let me tell you one thing. In 1957, can I take 2 more minutes? In 1957, when the Russians put the first man-made object into the space, it created ripples all over the world, and also in the United States of America. Sputnik. At the time, the US was headed by a 5-star general, Eisenhower, who was the Second World War hero. He was commander-in-chief in Second World War. He was heading the United States of America. So he called a meeting of the Prabhuddha Samaj like yours. And he said, gentlemen, and they were very eminent scientists. He called them in the White House. And he said, gentlemen, I am a soldier. I know how to win a war. I do not know how to fix the education. But as a common man, I have come to realize that something has gone horribly wrong with the teaching of science and mathematics in this country. And which is why we have been outpaced by Soviet Russia today. I do not know what to do. I give that responsibility to you. You do something. And then most outstanding scientists, that is a long story, I don't want to go into that. Most outstanding scientists abandoned their lab, formed different curriculum groups, and organized the orientation programs, and people like Pema Ram and Bhagirath and Devsrup as teachers, they said, no, 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 this is not a doable proposition. We cannot do it in the classroom. Those scientists developed the video, short documentary to prove to Devsrup and Pema Ram and Bhagirath that it is a doable proposition, do it like this. They came up with those performance standards at that point in time. And then when Eisenhower was succeeded by the 35th President of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy, in his speech when he was addressing the House of Representatives and Senate together on 21st of May 1961, perhaps, he said, and I quote only one part of his speech, he said, I want to send an American safely on the moon by the end of my presidency. Unquote. He could not do it because he was assassinated in 1963. But look at the vision of the leader. We need leaders with vision, those who love the people of this country, those who love each and every child. We need leaders who can value the best of every individual and who treat people with dignity and respect regardless of their background. That is what is needed, and that is conspicuously missing. Conspicuously missing, actually. This is so very unfortunate, and it is a reflection on all of us. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to express my very sincere thanks and gratitude to the members, honorable members of the family of Professor M.B. Mathur, for, creating this platform on which we, on yearly basis, we can remember the significant contribution made by Professor M.B. Mathur. He, in the planning process, let me tell you, he had left behind a legacy which has propelled the economy of the country in those adverse circumstances when we had only 64 crore rupees to provide for the education of the children in 1950-51. So I'm extremely grateful to Professor Vinish Kathuria for having invited me to this event, for this event. I'm also extremely grateful to Professor Ramesh K. Arora ji. I'm fortunate to have received his affection in very significant measures. He was helping us when we were, Dev Swarup and myself were working in the University Grants Commission. He was shouldering our responsibility. Sir, I'm extremely grateful to you for all that you have done for us. And I'm also equally grateful to my esteemed colleague and friend, Professor Dev Swarup, the chairperson of the today's memorial lecture, for having taken his time off and to be with us. I know he's looking after two universities. He must be a busy man, and yet he took his time off and try to be with us. I'm also extremely grateful to each one of you who have devoted this part of the day in the memory, a legend whose legacy will remain forever. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the very best and great good.
I have no words, in fact, because I have been very closely associated with sir. एक घटना बताता हूं आपकी इजाजत से। एक बार हम लोग हैदराबाद गए थे और कपिल सिब्बल साहब उस समय हायर एजुकेशन HRD मिनिस्टर बने थे। सिचुएशन कुछ ऐसी क्रिटिकल थी कि सर और मैं ही थे यूजीसी से, और यूजीसी का रिप्रेजेंटेशन करना था। और सिब्बल साहब बहुत ही उसमें थे कि ये करेंगे, हम वो करेंगे, और ये होना है, वो होना है, एंड ही वाज नॉट इवन रेडी टू लिसन। सो वेरी लिमिटेड टाइम वाज गिवन। तो सर ने तैयारी शुरू की, हवाई जहाज में शुरू की। पहले आधे घंटे का तैयार किया कि हाफ एन आवर में बोलेंगे, फिर ये हुआ कि 15 मिनट में बोलेंगे, फिर लास्ट में ये हुआ कि 8 मिनट्स में हमें ब्रीफ, मतलब सब कुछ कन्विंस करना है मंत्री को और सभी लोगों को। मैं बता नहीं सकता सर की मेहनत, और जो उसको रीफ्रेम किया, पूरा दिमाग में बिठाया। अभी आपने देखा कि किस तरह से उन्होंने बोला है। सो आई वॉज रियली फॉर्चुनेट कि मैंने सर के साथ काम किया, और जान सकते हैं कि उनकी जो प्रतिष्ठा है, उनकी जो हायर एजुकेशन में कंट्रीब्यूशन है। सो दिस वाज ग्रेट, एंड टुडेज ऑरेशन वाज फैबुलस। तालियां जोरदार बजाइए सर के लिए। क्या अब इसके बाद मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है, अब आप वोट ऑफ थैंक्स दे सकते हैं।
Thank you so much, sir, for that enriching and thought-provoking address. Before we move to the closing, we would now like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our dignitaries with a token of appreciation. I request Professor Dev Saru to kindly present a memento to Professor Ved Prakash, our keynote speaker for the memorial lecture. I now invite our director, Professor Vinesh Kathuria, to present a memento to Professor Dev Saru.
पहले कई बार दे दिया इन्होंने। थैंक यू।
And finally, I request Dr. Harchar Ram to present a memento to Professor Ramesh K. Arora. To formally conclude today's event, I now invite Dr. Motilal Mahamalik, IDS Jaipur, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to everybody. And now we are in the back end of this sixth Professor M.B. Mathur Memorial Lectures. This is the sixth time we are organizing this event. And it's a great pleasure to actually propose vote of thanks on this occasion. Basically, when I was listening to the keynote speaker address, I was just thinking that it is the great people are always great, but the thought and perspective of thinkers made them distinguished. So with this, I would like to propose a vote of thanks to Professor Ved Prakash ji, who came over here and delivered a very insightful, informative, and very powerful lecture. I propose a vote of thanks to Professor Deep Swarup, who chaired the sessions, and also a source of inspirations for these institutes. Always, whenever we are actually inviting him, he is actually sparing time and gracing all the occasions. I would like to thank you, sir, personally. I would like to thank Professor Ramesh K. Sharma ji, Ramesh K. Arora ji, and for who has actually made this event meaningful by proposing the name of our today's keynote speakers, Professor Prakash ji. Yeah, sorry. I would like to thank the family members of Professor M.B. Mathur ji, who has actually joined with us in today's event and also supporting us to organize this event for the last few years. Thank you very much for your supports. I would like to thank all the faculties and staff of the Institute of Development Studies, particularly the account sections, the administrations, research supporting staffs, and all other people who made this event very meaningful. I would like to thank few eminent people, well-wishers of these institutes, naming a few: Professor K.L. Sharma ji, Professor Bhausde Ram ji, Madam Usha Ram ji, Mr. Harsh Sethi ji, Professor Manju Singh ji, and many more for their gracious presence and who encourage us to actually organize this type of events in future. I would like to thank our director who revived this event, not this event only, rather made the institute, bring this institute to limelight, and also made the event very successful one. I thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank the Indian Council of Social Science Research, New Delhi, and Government of Rajasthan for supporting us. I would also like to thank all the well-wishers of the institute, including the civil society and other friends, for making this event successful. Thank you very much.